I would like to bring out the fact that one primary reason for our distrust of America is our distrust for Britain and France and all those countries who went to Asia and exploited their poor little brown brothers.
Yes.
I want to...
Oh my God, our poor little brown brothers. That was actually said by an American president, huh? Kumusta kayo lahat? Ako si Andres, and today I'm gonna react to another video with Johnny Antilon. Kasi lately, I've been showing you these videos with Raul Contreras and Johnny Antilon way back in the 1950s. Sobrang magaling sila mag-debate, tapos matalino talaga sila din. And now I found another one where they are talking about how do other people look at America. What do Asians, what do Europeans think about the USA? And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up if you like it, and don't forget to click the bell button so you'll be notified when I have new videos. And now guys, let's start!
Next is Johnny Antilon of the Philippines. Johnny hasn't taken very good advantage of his educational opportunities. He can only speak 9 out of the 86 languages in the Philippines and the some 200 dialects that they speak. He's also, just a minute, Johnny. He's also going to miss his graduation exercises on April 1st in the Philippines.
Okay.
Too bad, because he's valedictorian of his class, chairman of the debating society, editor of the school newspaper, president of the student council, and I can't tell you how much else. We're sorry, you'll miss it, Johnny. You'll be on a plane on the way home. Next is...
Wow, did you hear all his accomplishments? He's in the debate group, he's running a newspaper. Sobrang magaling talaga siya, no? Matalino din eh. And what is very important is the way he presents his views and the way he takes control of debates. You're gonna see this in just a second.
How about you, Johnny? We've heard from the Middle East and Western Europe now. How about the voice of Asia?
Well, speaking for the Asians, I can say that some of the points that bring the greatest resentment between America and the Asians are these. First of all, you have a desire to run everything from the Asian point of view. And second, you bring with you an aura of superiority which greatly infuriates most Asians. You have a smugness, a complacency that infuriates us and makes us think that you consider yourself the best people on the top of this world. And then the other point is that you have so much inconsistency in your foreign policy all over the world that most Asians do not know what to expect from the United States. We live from day to day in a state of jitters, not knowing whether today you're friends with us and tomorrow you sell us down the river. And then the fourth point is that in helping us, we believe that there are catches. There's a catch in everything you do. I will not say that this is true, but we believe it very much.
There's one other thing, Mr.
Yes,
Waller.
Peter.
One misunderstanding.
Wow, those things that Johnny just said, I think they ring true today. They're exactly the same, right? You never know where you have them. They keep changing. The US foreign policy keeps changing. One day it's like this, one day it's like that. They will use different countries for their own purposes, no? And I absolutely agree with what he's saying, that there is this kind of aura, as he said, from a lot of Americans when they help other countries, that they are superior. Why is that? I mean, they're not superior. They might be financially in a better position than other countries, but that does not mean that they are superior, right? Now, why we got to this point, I don't really know, because I don't think the general American thinks this. I've been so many times to America. I've been so many times to the US. I love the US. I love the people there. But there is something about the foreign policy that is really different. I mean, they do give out this aura of being superior to other people, especially Asians, for some reason. And it's just kind of weird. So I really do understand where Johnny's coming from. I do understand what he means when he says that you never know where you have the Americans with a foreign policy. Today, you're close friends, and tomorrow you sell us down the river. And I do think we've seen this just even in the last decade, right? What's been going on in the Middle East. Basically, that's been the same policy the US has been running there for so many, many years. So let's go back to the video again.
We love to laugh at your gum-chewing habits. The fact that teenagers take so much importance about dating. Well, it's psychological. We need the psychological uplift. By laughing at the Americans, we cheat ourselves into thinking that we're your equals in power.
I wonder if that fairly penetrating observation is applicable elsewhere in the world.
I wouldn't say that, for instance, not in Asia, because Asians have never felt that we needed psychological tricks in order to place ourselves on a par with America or any other country.
Right.
We believe that we have points where we are superior and that we do not have to look for other points where we are inferior. We recognize that there are some points where you're high, some points where we are high,
Right.
some points where you are low, and some points where we are low.
Right. Absolutely correct, right? I mean, nobody is the greatest at everything. You're good at something, you're bad at something. And that's the same with everybody, everywhere in the world. Well, I've been all around the world, and I basically see the same in every country around the world. There are good people, and there are bad people. There are poor people, there are rich people. Now, how they deal with it is very different from country to country, but it really depends a lot on how the government is and how those people in power behave, I think.
Would you say that that feeling of superiority is just as prevalent among Asians, their superiority, as you find the Westerners feel their own superiority?
Yes, in fact, you mentioned that now when an incident comes to my mind. I met a boy one time from the Western Hemisphere, I shall say, I shall not mention names. and one night he told me, while we were in the same room, that he considered most Asians as racially inferior, mentally inferior, psychologically inferior, physiologically inferior, inferior per se. And it struck me, it surprised me, because just a few years ago, I had heard a Burmese boy use almost exactly the same words.
A boy from Burma
From Burma.
used the same words.
That is
What
right.
did he say?
He said that you were immature, shallow, unperceiving, unperceptive, and words like that.
And that the Asians were the superior ones.
That is right.
Well, one way of finding out whether we are or not is getting together and knowing each other. But what's your point about feeling that there's a catch?
Oh, wow. Did you hear that? So Johnny's been together with another guy from the Western Hemisphere, so that's either from Europe or from America. And this guy was claiming that Asians were racially inferior. What the heck is going on with this guy? There's no such thing. I mean, we're all the same. Doesn't matter what color we are, what race we are. Has nothing to do with that. There's nobody who's more inferior or smarter or better than others. Diba? So this is so weird to hear. The problem is this was in 1954, I think, and this is still the same thing we hear today from people around the world. Why has this not changed in, 70 years? God, baby. How can this not be changed already? What I really liked is that Johnny then met a Burmese guy who said the same thing about Western people. He said they were shallow, they were inferior, and things like that. So it's really interesting to see that from different races, we look at each other basically in the same way, which is really kind of strange to me.
In everything Americans do in Asia. I'd like you to explain that, if you would.
You see, Asians look at the United States helping other countries in this way. In helping other countries, you make them so strong that they become powerful competitors or may become powerful rivals. Now, this is like slicing your own throat. We can hardly believe that you would do this without some ulterior motive.
Yes.
So that we believe that anything you give with the right hand must in some way be shadowed with the left.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, I think Johnny is absolutely on point here. He said they give with one hand, but on the other hand, magic happens, diba? So why would the US be helping other countries unless they wanted something in return? And I think we've seen proof of this around the world many, many times, where they pretend or generally help other countries, but on the other hand, they also expect something in return.
Now, wait a minute, Johnny.
Well,
That's the prejudice.
Are you knitting your brow, John?
Well, I don't quite see that the way he says this, there are misunderstandings on both parts.
Misunderstandings?
I don't quite think that he says that we do everything with an ulterior motive. But then, don't we treat, when we find our own neighbors in trouble, don't we treat them in exactly the same way in which we help the other peoples of the world who are less fortunate than we?
We'll help them.
by the way, when I said, I did not use I,
Yes.
that I believe it.
Yes.
I said that is the general feeling in Asia,
Right.
that there is something, a catch in all your motives and in all your purposes in Asia, and for that matter, throughout the world.
Yeah.
You see? It may or it may not be true, but it
Yeah.
is a fact that such a feeling exists and persists, and that is one of the greatest points that separates the East from the West.
Yes. I absolutely agree with him. Okay, so the American boy thinks they're just actually helping people. But they do expect something in return. Now, if you just wanted to help, you just help, right? Don't expect anything in return. Why do you want something in return? Helping your neighbor means to say you do not expect anything in return. Like right now in the Philippines, diba, madami, ano yun, community pantries, diba? Libre lahat, diba? They just give away the things, if you need it, but they don't expect anything in return. And I think this is a big difference between the points they're trying to make here. Johnny is trying to say that it seems like, he's not saying it happens, he's saying this is what it looks like. You're helping us with a motive, while the American boy just thinks that they're helping.
Do you feel that, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, what are you going to do about it? Do you think you can do something to dispel this?
To dispel this is not our part.
Yes.
Since we suspect you, it is for
Yes.
you to make advances or to do some things that will cause us to believe
Correct.
you more, to trust you more, to
Yeah.
feel that you're capable and worthy of our trust and confidence.
Well, but for example, Johnny, we've been giving a great deal of aid to Asia.
Yes, but you see, I will tell you. When you give aid sometimes to countries, you come there with that air, where you say, well, our way is best. Your way is not so good. And if you don't take our way, well, that's just too bad. But you see how you backward people see you don't know what you're doing. We know what we are doing. In other words, there are times when they force aid upon us at a time when we do not like it.
Yeah.
Or if they do not force aid upon us, you sometimes give us this aid without giving us a chance to participate in helping to build ourselves.
That's what I meant when I was saying that America tended to employ big business tactics in world international politics.
I agree.
I'll clarify that point. For instance, in the few years after the war, you helped other countries and you gave them large gifts. But you should remember a wise saying that charity has a bitter taste. And you gave it as if you were giving out alms. But today you have a better program, I think. You give us a chance where we put up 50% of everything you give. And that makes us feel much better.
Okay.
It gives us a feeling that we're participating in this program of helping ourselves.
When you talk about feelings of distrust toward America, is that true also? Do you also distrust British motives, or is it just America?
I would like to bring out the fact that one primary reason for our distrust of America is our distrust for Britain and France and all those countries who went to Asia and exploited their poor
Yes.
little brown brothers.
Yes.
I once
Oh my God, our poor little brown brothers. That was actually said by an American president. Huh? So this is what I don't understand. They are trying to force Asia and Middle East actually to accept their ways. I don't understand this. How did it become that the right way is the American way? Who says that the way we do here in the Philippines is not the right way? No, but just because they're giving us aid doesn't mean they have to dictate how we should live our lives or how our society should be.
I won't say we exploited them. They had raw materials that they didn't know how to use. We went in, we gave them a lot of things, but we took back in return. That's why when America gives you so much, gives Asia so much, the Asians think they must want something in return.
Yes.
Now what is it?
Now look, Peter, when you say that you go to Asia and you didn't exploit it, what do you mean? Look, when you went to Malaya, for instance,
Yes.
Yes.
did you give them a chance to be educated on the same level? Did you give them public school educations?
No.
Did you give them a
educating
chance
now.
to be? Did you give them a chance to be educated in technical schools?
No.
Yes, you said you're educating them now, but now it's too late.
Yes.
You have allowed the trust, the distrust, and mistrust to build up.
That I admit, that was Victorian and Georgian and Edwardian England.
Whether it was Victorian, Edwardian,
That's
or
before
Georgian
my
England, I'm not
I
blaming
accept
you.
no responsibility for what my country did before I was born.
Okay, so what they're arguing about is how did it become that Asia, many Asian countries, many people in Asia distrust the USA? Why is there so much distrust? We always think that they're giving with the right hand, but they want something back with the left hand, which kind of seems true, especially when you look at all the conflicts in the Middle East and other places. You kind of get that feeling. And as Johnny just said, when England went to Malaya, which is Malaysia today, they did take advantage of them, right? They did not come in and give education until later on, right? Even the British guy said just now that when they came here to Asia, Asia didn't know how to handle their raw materials and whatever. That's not exactly true. I think a lot of those colonial countries were simply just very greedy, wanted to develop the countries simply with the purpose of getting all the raw materials and trading on their terms. And if they didn't get their way, they would usually attack or take over the country, which is absolutely evident over the last few centuries, right? Meaning to say, get the trade, get the benefits of the raw materials in Asia, because it's very rich, especially Philippines, very rich in raw materials, which was needed for the Industrial Revolution back in Europe. So I do agree with Johnny. There's a lot of mistrust, and it's definitely the Americans' fault, it's definitely the Europeans' fault, and we are the ones who should change that. We should come to Asia and prove to Asians that this is not true any longer. What happened before, as the British guy said, yes, we cannot do anything about that, but let's move forward, let's build the trust. So when you give aid, there's no attachments.
I'll merely say that those facts did exist, and those facts still color our present relations.
I grant you that.
I don't want to cut
I
off your
agree.
discussion on British imperialism, but
That was a lot of things to take in, and I think there's definitely a lot of distrust of America around the world. And just like Johnny said, basically America has themselves to blame for this. They are not showing their true colors. They're not showing why we should trust them. So this is true way back in the 1950s, and it's true today. Now, I have to say one thing here. When you see these young foreign students, which are supposed to be the smartest from each country, I have to say that I am super amazed. Naka-amaze ako talaga kay Johnny, no? Kasi Johnny, he really manages to bring his points across, and not only that, he is basically in charge of this whole debate. I mean, he really runs the debate. He's in control, he's in charge. So pamagaling siya talaga. So I don't know what happened to Johnny, but I'm definitely gonna do some research. I want to know what happened to him. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. Mabuhay sa inyo lahat. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to click that subscribe button and of course the bell button so you'll be notified when we have new videos for you.